Chapter 2. Beyond the Tomb. 1. Why is it that at the moment of death, some cry, others sing, and others smile? Samael Awan. The answer to this question is divided in 3 parts. First, it is written that one is born crying and dies crying. Second, there are cases in which the agonizing one sings when remembering happy moments of the past. Third, some smile, although this is not very common, possibly remembering likable scenes of their existence. 2. Who commands the soul to leave the body so that it can be buried? Samael Awan. An angel of death arrives at the bed of the dying one at the moment in which he exhales his last breath. There are legions of angels of death. So any of these funeral angels cuts the silver cord or thread of life that connects the soul to the physical body. The dying ones usually see these angels adopting a spectral appearance. The scythe with which these deities are represented is certainly real. Such an instrument of work serves exactly so that such deities can cut the thread of existence. 3. What do the souls of the deceased eat, and how do they pay for what they consume? Samael Awan. Here in Mexico, we celebrate the Day of the Dead on November 1st and 2nd of every year. On such a day, people visit the pantheon, place lit candles at the tombs, and place on plates, pots, glasses, etc., the foods and drinks that pleased the deceased ones when they were alive. It is customary for many of those people to later eat the meals left at the tombs. However, whoever has some psychic sensitivity can verify that such food lacks the vital principle. The simple people think, and they are right about it, that their dear deceased ones feed themselves with those meals. Indeed, there is no doubt that the deceased ones eat, not the physical part of that food, but, we would say, the ethereal aspect of that food. Such a subtle aspect is unknown to physical sight, but perceivable to clairvoyance. So let us not forget that ethereal food exists within any physical food, and that this is easily assimilable for the deceased ones. The deceased ones can also visit a restaurant in the physical world. They salute those who are physically alive, whose subconsciousness will answer that salutation. Thus, the deceased ones request food. And it is obvious that the internal ego of the owner of the restaurant will unconsciously bring to the table mental forms of plates and foods similar to the ones that are physically consumed in his restaurant. Thus, the deceased ones, seated in the dining area, will eat of those subtle meals, made with essence of the mental world. They will pay with mental currency, and thereafter they will leave the restaurant. In such conditions, it is obvious that the deceased ones continue to think that they are physically alive. This can be demonstrated by any person who has developed clairvoyance and other faculties of the soul. 4. Where do the deceased ones live? Samael Awan. For the first few days, the deceased ones live in the house where they passed away, or in the clinic or in hospital where they died. Thereafter, since they have to retrospectively review the life that they just finished, it is clear that they will live in those places where they lived before. 5. How do the deceased ones dress? Samael Awan. They dress as they were accustomed to dress in life. In general, they dress in the same clothes in which they were buried. 6. What type of entertainment do the deceased ones have? Samael Awan. It is clear that the drunkard will continue to go to the bars, the movie aficionado to the cinemas, the gambler to the casinos, the whore to the whorehouse, and the whoremonger to procure them. 7. What sun illuminates the deceased ones? Samael Aunweir. The sun that illuminates the deceased ones is the same one that illuminates the living, with the only difference that the deceased ones see colors beyond the solar spectrum. The dead see colors that are not perceived by the physical retina of mortal people. 8. Do the deceased ones bathe, and if they do, with what water? Samael Aunweir. It is obvious that they bathe with the same waters that bathe the living ones, only that they use the water of the fourth dimension.
9. Why do some people die more rapidly than others? Samael Aunweir. It is because there are people who stick too much to the physical world, and is clear that they do not want to go away from it. Thus they delay, agonizing for hours and hours. 10. What hope do the deceased ones have? Samael Aunweir. This topic about hope varies greatly. It depends on the psychological quality of the dead, namely the greatest hope of an avaricious one, even after dead, since his consciousness is asleep, is to obtain more wealth. The greatest hope of a womanizer will then be to obtain women who will adore him, that will desire him, that will idolize him. The greatest hope of a deeply religious man will be to enter the indescribable regions of the light, etc. 11. What does the soul look for after it leaves the body? Samael Aunweir. The soul looks for what it longs for, namely, the mother looks for her son, and sometimes will make herself visible. The husband looks for his wife, if he indeed adored her. And the one who leaves buried treasures will look for them in the place where he left his wealth, etc. 12. Do the deceased ones have authorities as in the physical world? Samael Aunweir. Authorities exist in all the corners of the universe, as much among the living as among the dead. For example, the authorities of the lost souls that live in the abyss will be the demons, whereas the authorities of the inefables will be those that are over them in the scale of their hierarchy. However, since people have their consciousness asleep, it is obvious that they will continue to respect the authorities that exist in the physical world. 13. How did the deceased ones see the world of the living? Samael Aunweir. They see the same streets, the same cities, and the people just as if they were physically alive. They see the world as they were perceiving it when they were alive. We imagine that they enter the world of the living, but in fact they have not left the world of the living. It is logical that they perceive the world of the living just as they perceived it before dying. 14. Why did the deceased ones not realize that they are dead? Samael Aunweir. The deceased ones continue to think that they are alive because they have their consciousness asleep. Thus, since they see all things absolutely the same as when they were physically alive, it is clear that they do not suspect that they have died. Therefore, it is very difficult to make them understand that they no longer belong to the world of the living. 15. To what do the deceased ones devote themselves? Samael Aunweir. The souls of people who have died, since they do not suspect that they have died, keep themselves occupied in the same ways as when they were physically alive. 16. Can a deceased one transport himself to where he wants as when he was alive? Samael Aunweir. The deceased have total freedom to move in all the extensions of space and to visit all places. The deceased ones have complete freedom of movement. In one place to another, they can visit places when they want, but they cannot take nothing with them. They cannot take anything into the astral world. They can go places, but they cannot do nothing. They are nothing but spectators. 17. With what light do the deceased ones illuminate themselves? Samael Aunweor. The deceased illuminate themselves with the astral light. Such light is a fire detached from the nimbus of the sun and fixed to the earth by the force of gravity and the weight of the atmosphere. 18. Does one feel some pain when dying? Samael Aunweor. Death is painful for young people and delectable for the elders. This is similar to a fruit. When it is already ripe, it falls by its own weight, but when it is unripe, it does not easily fall. Thus we can state that it suffers because of its release. 19. When already dead, can the dead one recognize their corpse in the coffin? Samael Aunweor. They can see it, but they do not recognize it because they have their consciousness asleep. Thus, since they see all things absolutely the same as when they were physically alive, it is clear that they never think that such a corpse is their own physical body, and think that it is the body of another person. 20. If the person realizes that he died, could he re-enter the body before it is buried? Samael Aunweor. After the thread of life has been cut, it is no longer possible to re-enter the body. In this case, when the person is conscious that he indeed died, he would either be terribly scared or would be glad. Everything depends on the moral condition of the deceased. 21. What relief does the soul receive when the body dies? Samael Aunweor. The relief of the deceased is the prayer of those who mourn for them. It is essential to pray for the dead. 22. Does one have his hour, day, and minute fixed for his death? Samael Aunweor. Every person who comes to this world receives a capital of vital values. Death occurs when such capital is exhausted. It is good for us to clarify that we can save those values and therefore extend our life. Those who do not know how to save their vital values die very soon. 23. Can the deceased ones take the living to the world of the dead?
Samael Aunweor, we Gnostics learn how to willingly leave the physical body, thus we can visit the world of the dead. Also, on some occasions, the deceased can take the souls of their friends. Specifically, this happens during dreams, but they must return to the physical world when waking from their normal sleep. This means that the visit to the world of the dead is done during the sleep of the body. 24. Are there airplanes, cars, and trains in the world of the deceased as in the physical world? Indeed, all the inventions that exist in the physical world come from the region of dead. In their depth, such devices are mental forms that the deceased can see, hear, touch, and feel.